What's up, guys? I'm going to Thane today to meet a friend of mine, and we're just going to sit and have a little chat. Hope you guys enjoy it. I'm at Benchmark Studios. I'm going to sit with Vishal. We're going to talk about music and about life in general. And I hope you guys enjoy this conversation. I'm at this beautiful studio called Benchmark Studios in Thane. So I'll probably give you a tour of the studio first. So check it out.
Broken hearts, stolen words, all you hope will not hurt when you're burned by the eye of the sun.
Hi guys, I have the extreme pleasure today to have a conversation with my friend Vishal Singh. He's the founder of Amogh Symphony. He's a guitarist, a drummer, a music producer, an engineer. He's also a singer. He's all around a great guy. So I'm super excited to have this conversation with Vishal. Thanks for doing this, man.
Thank you, Shadaab, for this.
Okay, so let's start. The first thing I wanted to talk to you about was your writing process, 2009 to now. Like, how has the writing process changed?
Right. So the first album was released in 2009 as Abolishing the Option System. I was very new to the DAW thing. Before that, I used to record in the cassette tapes with in a long story cut short. So Philips recorders and blank cassettes with a karaoke input and Zoom 1010 as the interface. So that was when I was not aware of the DAW technology. So all my songwritings were mostly based on how I compose, what I compose, choice of notes and everything. When I studied audio engineering in Bombay, that was 2005, I think, 2005. So my entire songwriting was affected by the use of DAW because it was a very new experience for me. So the DAW was more or less controlling my songwriting. I found a lot of possibilities, which it was a good process to develop your skills, to polish your songwriting abilities. First album was very much into that zone where I used a lot of synthesizers, recorded myself over and over again, layered up, and also I was quite young at that time, and these songs were written in the 2006, 2007, maybe earlier than that.
Wow.
So I was an angry kid. I wanted to play, some really complicated stuff. It was an expression because that's why it's called Abolishing the Obsolete System. Because I was very saturated. I was very bored of people doing the same things over and over again. So that's why I named it. It's called Abolishing the Obsolete System. There's one guy who's played everything, and that was the approach. So there was a lot of experimentation. Sometimes I was going a little too much, but it was a good learning process. So in all these years, I learned all my mistakes. Well, some fans, they still like the first album, second album. I would say that it's a good thing that they like, but technically now at this point I hate them because I know that I've written a lot. It's like there's one guy who is 25 years old. He talks a lot, and then slowly with time he learns so much. By the time he reaches 30, he talks very less, but cut to the point, that kind of vibe. So the same thing happened, similar growth happened, and it took the shape of Vector Scan, my third album. My entire songwriting process has changed. So instead of depending on the DAW, I started planning out, charting the whole song, like right in my brain, in my thoughts. And the easiest way I could find is writing down a storyline. Like, this is completely non-musical stuff. So write down a story, like a concept story, and imagine that thing as a musical piece, which mostly classical composers used to do. So I imagined the whole story in my head. So it helped me to imagine the whole dynamics, ups and downs, and the sequence of the songs. Where this is going to be an intro. This is where the first guitar section will come. This is where this will come. And this is where the guitar solo will come. We'll probably need a drum solo on this part. And this is how the outro is going to be. So that helped me to understand, believe in my ideas, and to find the originality which I want to tell through my music. So that allowed me to control the DAW, that I could tell the DAW that you have to listen to what I'm trying to say. So that's very important, because then you realize that what exactly, which plugins you need, which guitar you need, and what kind of tuning you need. Everything is right here before you're putting up on the DAW. So that, I think, is I would say the changes that happened in my songwriting, which I used in Vector Scan, and it got upgraded to the new album, which we call 4 now.
Nice. And you mentioned in your album notes that you dislike the word evolve. So I want to talk about that. Like, what's the whole thinking behind you disliking the word evolve, and why don't you use it to describe your journey as a musician?
Well, yes, it's a bit personal for me, where it's completely my own personal vision. I mean, not necessary that someone else understands or follow it, but for me, it's very important to choose the right words while I try to describe or try to interpret something. So for me, evolve is a word that it shows a little bit of arrogancy, being a little arrogant about you created something. It gives you a feel. There's a lot of difference between being confident and being arrogant. So I think that the thin line.
Yeah, it's a fine line.
It's a fine line. It's very hard to, be on the center, and I had to find out myself which are the words, which are the pointers that actually, makes that thin line little weak. So I was very I wasn't happy with the word evolve, because first of all, a lot of bands were using it all the time. Evolve to this, our sound evolve to that. I read a lot of interviews for the bands, experimental bands. So I think it's spiritually, psychologically, I would like to use the word growth more, because I think once you say evolve, it's basically, you think about you reach that level. And for me, it's, if I keep thinking that I've reached that level, my growth will stop. So instead of that, I use the word growth, and psychologically it helps me to keep growing and growing and growing, because growth is something that you cannot compare. Evolve is something you can actually compare sometimes, and this is the only way I connect with these two words.
It's very interesting. I never thought of it that way, but it's very interesting. Let's talk about Amogh Symphony. So generally there are collaborations that happen, and there are collaborations between musicians. So like a producer, guitar player will collaborate with drummers. He'll collaborate with, like, say, vocalists from different parts of the world or the country. But Amogh Symphony is a collaboration between 4 producers.
That's right.
It's very unique.
Songwriters, producers.
Yeah, very unique. Like, I've never heard. I don't think I've come across any act that has 4 producers that have collaborated with each other.
Well, actually there are, but there are not too many.
Not too many.
Them. There are, but yeah.
So we'll talk about that. But I also want to talk about, like, the whole relationship aspect of bands. Like, I mean, sometimes it's difficult to maintain a cohesive, healthy relationship between band members, even though they are in the same city. It becomes a little more difficult when they are in different parts of the country, and then it's this situation that you're in, where you have band members in different parts of the world. So that's like another level. So I'm sure it has its own set of challenges.
Definitely.
Also advantages, disadvantages. So let's talk about that a little bit. Like it's 4 countries. It's Portugal, Russia, Germany, and India.
That's right.
So it's quite unique.
Okay, so talking about the band members from different countries, first of all, there's a lot of cultural difference, time zone difference, and of course there's always a creative difference. But like say when I was thinking about bringing more people into Amogh Symphony, I was not looking at them as like band members, but more like involving more songwriters who, like, those type of songwriters were like me, as in like say Derek. By the way, he's Indian, by the way.
Oh,
Derek is from Bombay, but he lives in Portugal.
okay.
I have to mention this. A lot of people think he's like from Portuguese.
Sure,
He's an Indian, but he lives in Portugal. So Derek, he composed music. He produced music for a lot of ads, films. So he has a lot of experience. In fact, he's the most experienced one in the band. And Andrei from Moscow, Russia. So he is also into composing music for games and film scores and ads stuff and everything. So what happens? Like, think about psychologically. These guys are also into that zone that if I want to create something, if I want to make some kind of music, we know what are the disadvantages that will happen, because we don't want to make the same style of tunes, because we make songs every day. So it's basically there are 2 different types of musicians, bands. Some musicians, some bands who have a daily job, who don't deal with making music for surviving, but they have a day job, like say, like any other job, anything other than music. So when they get together, when they compose songs together, so it's a different feeling. It's an escape for them. For us, it's a little different, because we make music every day. So we get saturated. We get bored of many music very quickly.
Yeah, that's actually was one of my questions as well. But please continue. Yeah.
So I wanted to find band members who are going through the same psychology, and that's how I met Andre, Derek, and then I met Tom, who is a brilliant guitar player and also a very good producer. He records a lot of bands in Germany, mostly metal bands, but still. So Tom is, again, he also wanted to create music which is slightly different and which gives a lot of challenge to your songwriting abilities. And like when we talk on Skype, discuss about the songs and of the album and etc., like arranging the songs. So we are very cut to the point. Like I don't have to tell Derek that that middle section of the song, maybe we should remove the horns, it's too much layers going on, maybe we should reduce it to like only few layers. I don't have to say that, because when I'm thinking, I know that psychologically at the same time, because we are on the same plane, right?
Nice.
So he immediately said, don't you think the horn sections are too loud? We need to reduce it. I was just about to say that. Yeah, I will do this. So there is a understanding,
There's a chemistry between.
Yeah, so we don't think as like Derek. He never comes to me and says, "Look, I want to play more lead synth solos in here. There's no space for me to play any solos." Or Andre never comes to me and says that, "I want to play a nice piano solo where there's no section in the song where I can actually play some piano." And Tom, again, so that thing doesn't happen. So what I'm trying to say is, we don't think as instrumentalists, we think as songwriters. So there might be one song, there's absolutely no guitar, but just one guitar solo, that's it. We just need the guitar only for the guitar solo.
And how do you switch between, like, so for me as a musician, like, it was very in my head, I was sure that I don't think I want to do jingle work or produce music for this. A, because I don't think I'm good at it. B, also because I wanted music making to be a space where I'm only creative and I do it for myself and I don't do it for anyone else, like for clients. So for you as a as a professional musician, producer who creates so much music for companies, jingles, like ads, how do you switch? How do you switch yourself from being a producer for a client to a producer for yourself, for your band?
A very good question. It took me almost 8 to 10 years to adjust the that equilibrium between these two. So that's usually how I started training myself. That when your job is to make music, and at the same time you want to release your own music. So this is my personal approach. I'm pretty sure different musicians have different approaches. For mine, it's like living two different lives, where there's one guy. It's like, I'll give an example, like say Batman and Bruce Wayne. So what's Bruce Wayne's role is? He's a businessman. He only thinks about money. He only thinks about connecting with people. And he makes money. What exactly is he doing with this money? He becomes Batman, and he does what he wants to do. Destroying crime and stuff. So I found a very deep connection with that character. So
Nice.
I would say Bruce Wayne in this case is, for me, someone who makes music only for the living. And when I'm making music for, like today, if I have a session with a director and he's asking me to compose a song for an ad, so my approach is very robotic, because in all these years I've learned songwriting. I know how to make different styles, different genres of song. So I use only my technical, abilities and the whole knowledge which I've got in these years. So it's very robotic for me. I hate to say that, but it's very robotic for me to work on jingles and everything. So I keep my communication with the clients very clear, what exactly you want. So every time when I'm working with any client, I ask them at least 10 times before taking the job, what exactly do you want? So that is the other side. Now when I think about all my own songs, Amogh Symphony, when I write songs, it's a different Vishal altogether. It's a different character. Like, I completely forget about the role that I make music for living. This is exactly what I tell myself, that there is no third party involved. That's just me and my music. Nobody's going to ask you to change this, to change that. So sometimes you get angry and while working with the clients, because you know that this is not happening.
Yeah.
So I channelize. So there are many times I use a lot of rejected ideas to Amogh Symphony.
Nice. Okay.
Just to, it's not to prove anyone else, but to myself, that this idea was accepted by people.
Sure.
When Amogh Symphony was released. I think it's very important, but it's not necessary that you have to do that.
Yeah.
You can be completely dedicated to your own music and do a different job, because I think, like, I'm after crossing 30, like I'm almost 33 now, I'm at a point where I want to give more value towards my own music than the commercial works that I've done, because in the end art is all about leaving a legacy tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to tell your children or your grandkids? Like, hey, look, I made music for this jingle. That doesn't sound good at all.
Yeah.
I release an album, this is what.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
that's true.
it's like that.
I want to talk about judgment. Does it mean anything to you? Does it do you care at all if people judge you for who you are, say even as an individual or as a musician, or does it ever affect your music creation process?
Initially, yes. A long time back, actually. A lot of people used to, say that, what do you do for a living? Like I say, I make music. So that is one thing. Mostly comes from the family. But in that case, I'm a little lucky, because from my mom's side, the entire family are all musicians. They like me because I'm doing music, but they're like, that fear that, are you going to survive? So there's always a question. And that question used to annoy me a lot, but not anymore, because once you keep doing your own thing over and over again, you find yourself standing at a point where you simply don't want to listen to anyone else but to yourself, because you know it's right. And this is where you actually have to decide that what you want for yourself, because we all have just one life, and for that one life, are you living properly, like the way you want? And I'm not talking about it's making a lot of money and surviving, the whole struggle of survival. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about that the music that you express is very pure. It's coming from your spiritual side. If you're doing that, if you're trying to express yourself through your art, you have to be very shameless, and you have to remind yourself that maybe not the generation today, but the generation coming later on, after 10 years, they will accept what you have created. Like, that's how we know Frank Zappa, that's how we know Nirvana, all these bands. So I started motivating myself by reading only biographies of these musicians who were rejected once. So most of the creative musicians and artists, like say actors, scientists, these guys were all rejected. But what exactly happened? What made them the bigger role, the bigger characters? Because they believed in their ideas. They did not listen to anyone else.
That's interesting.
So for me, it's very important to believe in the ideas, because after working on my ideas for more than 10 years, now I know that I'm right. So once you believe in that, I don't think anyone's judgment really bothers. Also, the good point is, once you actually cross that path, you stop criticizing a lot of people. So in my case, a lot of bands, a lot of artists, I get like a lot of emails, messages on Facebook inbox and Gmail, like please review my music, what do you think about the tune? So I find it very hard to criticize, because if I think as a producer, like a commercial music producer, composer, I have a lot of things to say, like this is not right, this is not wrong. But if I listen to the songs, if I look at it as a honest artist, he or she has a personal vision which may not be the same as mine. So there is a motivation behind it. There is a lot of dream. There's a lot of vision. There's a vision behind everything. So it doesn't make sense if you criticize an artist who is releasing his or her own tune, because I think that whole point of criticism are completely invalid.
Yeah, and I think also happens with a little bit of like when you become older with age. Also, as a younger artist, you have a little bit of this instinctive reaction of judging people, right? Like I had this thing where before I started working at this venue called Blue Frog, I used to be very judgmental about other people's, not other people's music, that too, but like I was very firm about the fact that I hated Bollywood music, right? Like in my head it was like Hindi music sucks and like everything else is fine or whatever. Like in fact, to an extent where I was such an extremist that I only listened to ambient music, ambient electronic music, and I heard metal music, and everything else around it sucked. Pop was shit, rock was too commercial.
No, we all
jazz was too complicated. I was so judgmental. I was really bad. And then like when I eventually started working in this venue where like I saw quality musicians coming every day of the week and playing, I was witnessing like 6 bands a week and all different genres, like blues, then there was a jazz band, then there's an experimental electronic band, and I'm like, man, like what was I thinking? Like how can I even say something like this? And so that opened my mind to like different genres of music, and it took even more years for me to then later make my peace with Bollywood music, where I'm like, listen, it's not my cup of tea, but there are millions of people that like it, so full power to them. Let's just not connect, like you are not going to connect with the music, but let's not judge it. Let it be the way it is.
No, it's a good point, Shadaab. I would say it's the growth process of the mind.
Yeah.
So you actually start accepting things the way they are.
Yeah, I mean, I was also, the owner of the studio is gonna kill me. Like when I hated Hindi music, so, and like he's part of this amazing band called Paradigm Shift, and and in the start, like I would judge these bands, like I would judge all these Hindi rock bands, and then like I eventually had exposure of seeing Paradigm Shift, I had exposure of seeing Koshish, and I think mainly these two bands was where I was like, wow. Hindi music. I also like, I guess, Vasudha Sharma's music,
Right.
Where I think Attuned Spirits was the album that I was like, wow, Hindi music can be really cool, man.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't, it's not like uncool just because it's Hindi, Like, I mean, I had this thing, like, scorn against like this language that I spoke, which was so stupid, like, which was very immature, I would say. But then, like,
no, actually, a lot of us, they have gone through the same thing that which you're mentioning. I think it's very important because not many people, the whole mentality of being judgmental, a lot of people are still stuck. I have to say those ones are actually lucky who realize it, and I'd say it's always the spiritual opening of the mind.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I've seen that too. I've seen a lot of musicians or individuals stuck in that judgmental phase where they
you
still
will find
judge.
most of those musicians being hateful, being cranky about anything, and they just become more hateful and hateful towards anyone else. So disliking someone's art is actually, there's nothing wrong in that. Like if I don't like a particular artist, which is actually very invalid in my case, but if I don't like a particular artist, that doesn't mean that I hate that artist. It's just that I'm not ready at the moment to understand his or her music. So at the same time, that artist should understand that it will take some time.
True, very true. Yeah, it takes time. But like you said, when you open your mind and you...
it's a slow process. This is something that no other thing can help you. It just has to grow up naturally. You just can't force someone to just listen to metal or ambient music immediately. It's just because you connected to ambient music because it suits your nature and it's automatically just helps you to grow up.
True.
So it's very important.
Yeah. I want to talk to you about, this is the era or the age of singles, right? Everyone wants to just release singles after singles, and then they're hoping that, like one of them like just hits and they make it, and then that sort of gives them that push in the, or that recognition. Why did you decide to release a whole album? And also it's a two-part album, right? Like,
Yes,
so
that's right.
It's a big album. Like it's not really just an album. So
yeah, but it's not a double album because the songs are too long. Because I think I have to make this thing little clear.
yeah, you mentioned it that because the sounds were the sounds were so unique. Like
basically the first 3 albums were the concept albums. This one is not a concept album. So each song are like different stories, and after like repeated listening sessions, like Tom had a listening session in Berlin, invited some of his friends. Then I had a listening session over here. Then Derek had a listening session, and Andre had a listening session in Russia. So we all took some few notes, personal notes, and we just realized that the common point that we found that it's a little too much to give to people to just grab it. It's like you have a student who just got into first year engineering. You can't discuss MTech to him at this point, because let him just start understanding a little bit, and it's not about like he has a long way to go, but it needs to be explained in a proper manner. In case of this album, because each song is very different genre wise and everything, and we thought that it's a better idea to release this album into 2 parts, and we made sure that all the songs which are very different make some sense at least as a listener perspective. So you can listen to a heavier song, then a softer song, and then there's a funny song. So it's basically listeners can actually choose between their favorite part of the
it's
album.
so distinct. Like, and now I've heard it at least. I heard it twice. 3 times, but once I was just listening to it in the background and making my notes. But like once while driving here, and once before that also. And like each song is unique, and it's got its own different parts. So
Right.
yeah, like I think six songs, right? 5 or
Part
6?
1 has 7 songs.
7 songs.
Part 2 has 6 songs.
So I think it was perfect for me also as a listener when I was listening to these different genres in each song, and I was like, wow, this is so different from what I heard before. Like, like where it starts with this very serene track that's sort of introducing the vibe to you, and then suddenly it goes into a completely different vibe, and it jumps from like vibe to vibe, and I would disconnect after maybe like 6 or 7 songs if there were like say 12 songs,
Yeah.
and it would be like, oh, it's too much, like, I need to
Exactly,
listen. So
exactly.
then this sort of makes sense that you did 7 and then you're doing 6.
Yeah, so that was the whole intention, because I don't think what happened with the last album, Vector Scan, although it was very experimental and it was very avant-garde, and we done a lot of work, but it was like one album with all the songs way too complicated. And because I take lessons from my itch releases, so I noticed that it was a little too much for people. So we could at least release the singles, but I have to mention this: I hate to release singles because it's doesn't allow me to speak. It's just like you have a speech to talk, and you just talk like few parts from that speech, and you stop, wait till people understand the thing, and then you move. For me, it's like that. So, but again, I wanted to make sure that people can have at least the choice to choose between which album they want. So there's part 1, part 2. So there's maybe some people, they will like part 1 more than part 2.
Sure.
And some will like part 2 more than part 1. Or maybe they hate both the parts. That is completely fine. So that's just a freedom of choice.
Yeah, and like for those who don't know, part 1 released today. It's 4.1.
Yeah,
I got it, 4.1. 4.1 released today, and 4.2 is releasing on the 20th of
21st.
21st
of May.
21st of May, sorry. 21st of May. So if you haven't heard part 1, please go to Amogh Symphony's Bandcamp page and just hear it out.
Yeah, and leave some comments, because that's quite important.
Feedback is important.
Yes.
As much as musicians will not admit it, but it's important to know how people feel after listening to a body of work that they've worked so hard on. Like, this has been 3 years.
Yeah.
3 years, and you need like feedback. Sometimes it doesn't matter if it's positive or negative feedback, but it's really important to have some kind of feedback.
Yeah, to just let the artist know your presence.
Yeah.
There are many people, listeners, I've discovered in all these years, who actually listen to your music, but they don't like it or comment. Actually, they don't hate your music, but some people in these days, the new generation people, they don't really like to put their identity on the internet.
Yeah, and sometimes I think it works against the musician, because then if a lot of people don't sort of comment and like speak to you and talk about like what they felt after listening to your music, you sort of start doubting yourself.
Yes,
maybe no one really liked my music. So
it happened to me a long time back. It happened to me for sure. That self-doubt issue, it happens in life at least once in a time. Like ek baar to it's important.
Since we're in that topic, let's talk about it. Let's talk about how you fight your demons, how you fight being demotivated, and also this whole this curse or this disease that hits all musicians, which is called self-doubt.
Oh,
which like you sit there and you're making music, but you're like, I don't know if anyone's going to listen to this or anyone's going to like what I'm doing. How do you fight that? How do you deal with it?
Frankly speaking, it very brutally, honestly, that thing never came to my mind whether people are gonna like it or not. But yeah, I think it was 2012 after the release of the Quantum Hack Code, which was my second album. Uh, I had a lot of self doubts because not because whether people are going to like it or not, but uh, a lot of bands were doing this similar kind of stuff. The whole modern metal has changed. You know, again, the word "evolve" was used everywhere by music journalists, websites. For me, it was a point where I actually thought that if I release something, it'll just be lost somewhere because if band XYZ has released something, it sounds exactly like that song. You know, you actually don't know anything about that band. The creative coincidences, it happens. So I think the creative coincidence was a big problem for me, and I did not want to sound like anyone else at that point. And I was being a little too critic to myself, and that was the first that was the beginning of facing the self-doubt, and which was followed by depression later. And it was very tough times for me, but then I took a break of 6 months, I think 6-7 months, and I'm just stopped composing music for some time, channelizing myself into different things, and I just realized that I have to, find some way to motivate myself, and I have to deal with the demons within me, and I'm the only one who can actually solve this. No one else can do that. So I started listening to all my songs right from the cassette tapes, the early days, till the Quantum Hack Code, and I still till date I motivate myself doing this. So I listen to my own songs like it's someone else's songs, and I just listen to it, and I realize that the song which I composed, produced in 2003, and the song were composed in 2004, and the songs I composed, produced in 2009, 2010, in 2012, 2013 I released some singles, and I see the whole graph of development and how it's changing, and I just listened to myself and just told myself, wow, you're such a genius guy, man. Like, why are you acting like a loser? You don't deserve this. So I actually started talking to myself, listening to the song. So it's basically you need to find a way, and I think the biggest motivation is to not letting your songs rot in your laptop, MacBook, or your whatever. If it's a Windows.
Yeah,
machine.
that's happened to me. Yeah.
And it's I think we have a lot of amazing musicians. I know a lot of incredible composers even in Bombay. I wouldn't take the names, good friends of mine, but they're going through the same mental blocks and self-doubts, because if you do not share your art with people, you will never figure out that there are people like you who are actually listening to your music right now, and you're becoming a voice for them. So it's just a shout out through your art, saying that you're not alone, I'm also here. This song is about myself. So you connect with people, and that's an amazing way to discover that, oh, I'm not the only one. People are going through this and they're liking my music. So maybe I need to work a little more harder on this.
Yeah. This is very interesting thing that I think I heard it on a podcast recently where someone, I don't remember where I heard it, but it said that so you don't conquer or destroy your demons. They are always going to be a part of you. You just learn to make peace with it.
Nice.
And you basically learn how to work with your demons.
Exactly.
Because demotivation, self-doubt is always going to be there. It's not going to just disappear one day and you're going to be the most confident guy in the world. If you've always had it.
It comes as a free gift with creativity.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a creative person, you get them as
Buy
a
one, get one
gift.
free.
Yes, exactly. So my dad told me about that. If you become an artist, these are the things going to be a part
Yeah.
of your life.
Yeah. So I guess the whole idea is
I
to
look
embrace the demons and like
True.
try and work around them.
So I look at as a very simple example. I would just like to mention that you have a knife. We can't blame the knife. It's all about how we use it. You can kill someone with that. You can cut someone's throat, or you can just cut a piece of apple and feed it to some poor person. Or you can feed yourself. You can do a lot of things with the knife.
It's how you perceive things.
Yeah,
and how you
the
use
knife
it.
is basically my mind, and it's all about how I use it. So, for me, dealing with my demons is that these demons need to listen to what I say. I'm not going to listen to what the demons are going to tell me.
That's very important. What was it like featuring your mother in this album? How was it like recording and like just involving her in the process? Must be very special for her also to
Yeah,
understand, Like so what did it feel like?
This is we've been actually collaborating since long time. She also recorded vocals in the last album, Vector Scan. Mom again, a very big inspiration for me. I think the whole nature of being open-minded towards art and life, I think I got it from my mom. So she's very open-minded in art and music. She listens to almost every kind of music. Like sometime last year, she loved Radiohead's new album,
Very
and I had no idea that she's gonna like it. So the process was very natural, nice. Like while working with mom on a song, the good thing is that she's from a earlier generation and I'm from the new generation. So there's a generation gap. Instead of fighting with each other, we worked out what can we learn from each other. So my mom belongs to that generation where Riya's practice was very important. Like she's till date, she's a one-take singer. She never does like a punch in take. If it happens, she says no from the top again. So she has this discipline.
Incredible. Okay.
Yeah. So for me also, when I work with her, it's very important to make myself matched up to that level. So that natural habit, it started coming to me as well, where if I'm recording a guitar or something, it has to be a one take. There's no other way, because that's how she recorded. Because there's a lot of difference when you hear properly in a multi-take and a single take. I'm not saying multi-take is a cheating, but sometimes to get the right feel, a single take is important. So there are like things like this which I learned, and I asked mom, how do you maintain that thing of doing a single take? So she told me about, it's not just about practice, but a lot of focus and confidence. Like how do you do that? So she told me that if you keep thinking that I'm going to miss that note next time, you're going to miss it. So you have to prepare yourself mentally, and even if you miss a note, you have to do something after that that makes sense, that this mistake is actually making sense with the next note, which is again I think it was told by Miles Davis also, if I'm not wrong. So it was quite a learning experience, and she loves all my music. She doesn't like too many heavy songs, but she told me that it's sounding actually good compared to your first two albums, which were like too heavy. And mom's open-mindedness and being honest about the music, and she helped me in working on the structure of the songs, like as a listener. So basically working with her, the best experience was that I was confident enough that even like older people will like it, like those older people who are open-minded towards music. So it was good, and we're still recording a lot of songs.
Lovely.
And I hope there will be some more songs in the future.
Yeah, I hope so too. It's beautiful. That first song in this album is just beautiful. If you were to give like one piece of advice to upcoming young musicians who are starting off, or maybe they're starting their journey as like educating themselves in music, or they're starting their journey as a music composer, musician, what would that be?
I would say, first of all, the initial years as a musician, as an artist, many things they will never look clear to you. I mean, no matter how many people guide you, there is no one way to do art or music in life. So everyone has their own personal perspective, personal vision. But one thing I would like to say that if you want to do music for the full time, it's very important to be very open-minded, like from deep inside, with an interest of learning, studying different genres of music, because that is going to be your job. And if you don't love your job, there's no point in doing that job. Then you can simply, and it's not necessary that you have to be someone who listens to all kinds of music, but like if you are more inclined towards, say, EDM, but you don't want to do any other music, it's completely fine. It's completely fine if you get a job and want to do only your music. It's all fine. There's nothing right and wrong about it. But the most important point away is to learning how to motivate yourself is very important, because there's most of the time a lot of demotivation happens in music, and it's a bigger problem than finding the way to survive financially, because if you believe in something, automatically you will find a way to make money out of it. And that's the only advice I can say. Just believe in yourself, and if you want to do music full time, have to be versatile. If you don't want to become a full-time musician, no need to be versatile, get a job. Both the visions, both the characters, two different characters I talked about, are completely fine. But make sure that you're doing the right thing. It takes some years, 5 years, 10 years, doesn't matter. Go ahead with it.
Beautiful, man. I think I'm good. Firstly, I want to thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
Thank you for calling me to do something like this. It's an absolute pleasure.
Actually, I wanted to do this. I was thinking about doing this since long time, but I thought let's wait till the album gets released, and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah, like please plug yourself to the audience. Tell them where to download the album, where to follow you for updates.
Yeah, so you can listen to all my songs, the Amogh Symphony songs, by going to the Bandcamp, which is very simple, amoghsymphony.bandcamp.com. You will find all the discographies, all the albums, singles released till date. Also, all these songs are available on other digital platforms, iTunes, Google Play, you can just name it. So I think it should be up within few days from now onward. So you can buy, you can share, you can write about it. You can.
Yeah, I think by the time the video goes out, it'll be available in all platforms.
I think so.
Nice.
So looking forward to your support, and there will be some more music coming up very soon. I hope you guys enjoy.
Nice. This is like the first time I've done something like this, like a one-on-one conversation. So I hope you guys enjoy this. Yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video, I guess. Thank you. Shal, I'm gonna take a leave.
Thanks, bro. Thank for
you saving my life.
But I really wanted to do this since long time, and finally we actually did that. Because I've been following you on the Facebook and other things. This is the best use of social networking, no? People say social networking is bad, but it's all up to your use, how you use it.
Yeah. You can create memories and content that has some meaning. See you, bro.
See you.
Bye.
You got the card?
Yeah. Bye, bro.
Bye.
That was fun. I had a great time at Benchmark Studios. What a lovely studio, and also what a great conversation with Vishal. I hope you guys enjoy it. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one. See you.